Assassin's Creed has explored the world time and time again, with adventures spanning from ancient Greece to Renaissance Italy. However, with all the history we've seen being explored in the 15 years since Assassin's Creed first released, there are definitely a lot of time periods and events that Assassin's Creed should certainly explore to give new experiences for players. I've been playing Assassin's Creed for a long time, and I've always thought that there could be a lot of potential for so many different locations. Plus, my author brain just won't stop imagining ideas for new Assassin's Creed games, so that's why I've decided to take a bit of a steer away from my usual analysis content and make a list of 5 locations, time periods, or settings that I think Assassin's Creed should definitely explore next. The first setting I think should be explored by Assassin's Creed is ancient Rome. There are unfortunately not many video games that explore such a rich period of history like ancient Rome, or at least not many in a similar style to Assassin's Creed. There is Rise, Son of Rome, but with no sequel in sight, there's just a shortage of action-adventure titles in ancient Rome. Ancient Roman history is steeped in centuries of growth, expansion, warfare, and power. Obviously, when you think of what time periods have already been explored like ancient Egypt and ancient Greece, ancient Rome seems like a good place to explore for the series as well. Ancient Rome also spanned across a very large expanse of land. It contained a lot of history within its borders. An Assassin's Creed game in ancient Rome could easily play the role of continuing the story of Assassin's Creed Origins, since I did think Bayek's character was amazing and definitely deserved a sequel. If not a sequel to Origins, there are plenty of historical events that take place in ancient Rome that could easily work out. Something like the Punic Wars or the time of Julius Caesar would work very well for Assassin's Creed. I think that there's a lot of potential in ancient Rome, and it would make for an amazing Assassin's Creed game any day. Next, I think that Assassin's Creed should definitely explore World War II. This has been a setting I've thought about a lot since I played the Rift mission in Assassin's Creed Unity, in which you get transported to Paris while it was occupied by Nazi Germany. I think that World War II has so many stories and events within it that it makes the most sense for it to be explored as well. There are definitely a lot of games set in World War II that deal with more of the infantry-based conflict, especially when we're referring to shooter games like Call of Duty. So I definitely think that an Assassin's Creed set in World War II should look for the more espionage/clandestine operations that took place during that time. Assassin's Creed has proven before that you can mix guns with hidden blades, and it's not that strange to imagine happening. Even Watch Dogs Legion proved you can mix guns with hidden blades when it released its Assassin's Creed expansion a while ago. Assassin's Creed with some unique gunplay in third person would be great. I mean, Ubisoft already does Ghost Recon games, which are third-person tactical shooters, so why not see something like that in Assassin's Creed 2? Sure, it would be a bit of a dramatic change from what most Assassin's Creed fans are used to, but I think it's doable. I personally think it would be interesting to have an Office of Strategic Services agent from the United States undercover in Nazi Germany, taking out members of the Nazi Party and chasing Templars down like we're used to seeing in Assassin's Creed. World War II is an overused time period in video games and media as a whole, but I think that the vast level of potential available in World War II is something that should be in Assassin's Creed. Just a side note, the Office of Strategic Services, or the OSS, was basically the precursor to the United States Central Intelligence Agency, or CIA, which was established in 1947. Introducing something like the CIA or its predecessor in a mainline Assassin's Creed game could even open the door for an Assassin's Creed title set in the Cold War. And this leads me to my next idea, Assassin's Creed set in the Cold War. Basically, the Cold War was a period of intense espionage and spy operations as the United States attempted to thwart the USSR's reach across the globe. The Cold War was full of proxy wars, hostage crises, conflict on mass levels, the space race, the nuclear arms race, and more. This was an era in which assassinations and assassination techniques were at their height. I feel like it would only be natural to have an Assassin's Creed game set in a time where an assassin could really do their job in a slightly modern era. Assassin's Creed tends to explore a lot of ancient and older time periods, which makes sense because there's more opportunities for melee combat, but the Cold War is not necessarily a very old conflict, and it's not really a very new conflict, so it kind of falls in the middle there, and it still does affect the world to this day. Plus, stealth is not something that you can't accomplish properly in the Cold War. I was replaying the campaign from Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War not too long ago, and I noted that the ability to have immersive stealth gameplay was very easy. And I found myself thinking about how Assassin's Creed could benefit a lot from having the stealth aspect set in a time period like the Cold War. I think Black Ops Cold War proved that you could make a stealth game set in the Cold War and make it interesting. Assassin's Creed has plenty of stories in the Cold War to explore. Lots of harrowing missions were undertaken during this time. You could talk about the Vietnam War, since Assassin's Creed does have a comic book that takes place during the Vietnam War, so it's not a stranger to the universe of Assassin's Creed. You could talk about the problems the US had with Cuba. There's also the Soviet War in Afghanistan. I mean, there are so many different things that could be used in Assassin's Creed just from the Cold War alone, so I think it would be fun. My next idea goes back in time quite a bit, but I also thought about this idea while playing Unity. Assassin's Creed could take place in medieval Europe, where your assassin was originally a knight. I think that medieval Europe, but more specifically medieval England, would be a great time to explore for Assassin's Creed. Medieval France could also work as well, since we saw medieval France at the beginning of Assassin's Creed Unity, so it's not a very far-fetched setting to explore. I think that medieval Europe is interesting because it was a time of constant warfare, but there was lots of corruption as well. The Templars also arose in medieval times as an official organization during the Crusades. Without touching the Crusades, since that's the first Assassin's Creed's plot, you could craft a really interesting Assassin's Creed tale in the middle of medieval Europe. There's the potential to talk about the Black Death, which was a very difficult time for most of that side of the world, but it dramatically impacted Europe the most. I could see the plague being an interesting plot point to tackle in Assassin's Creed. I think that Dishonored and A Plague Tale definitely did a good job portraying the plague while involving intense emotional stories and great stealth gameplay. So I can see Assassin's Creed working well with this time period too. Finally, the last setting I want to mention on this list would definitely have to be the Aztec Empire. This is an Assassin's Creed setting I've been wanting to see for a long time, and I know that a lot of people have talked about it online as a potential setting as well. I know that the Aztec Empire has had a lot of many events in its lifespan, but exploring the Spanish arrival to the Aztec Empire would likely be the choice by Ubisoft if they ever did a game about Assassin's Creed in the Aztec Empire. The arrival of Hernan Cortez is probably the most basic idea they could pick, but it does have the most potential for a title in Assassin's Creed. You have a conquest, war, violence, and a clear enemy for a protagonist who is of the Aztecs in the first place. I believe that there's a lot of rich history, culture, and more that we can see portrayed very interestingly in the Aztec Empire for Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed has already proven itself that it can tackle stories about ancient empires in an interesting way, so the Aztecs and their mythology are certainly a great idea for the series to look into as well. I certainly have a lot more ideas, but I would be here all day just explaining stuff, so I may make a follow-up to this video in the future. But for now, I believe that the 5 settings I mentioned in this video are probably some of the most intriguing and interesting, and would be very unique to see being implemented in Assassin's Creed. So with that being said, thank you all for watching. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on a single upload. Comment below if you have any other ideas for potential Assassin's Creed locations, and be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Thanks again, and Symbiosis out.